Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday again. Wall Street Jesus here, Saturday Sweep Series. For those of you who may be new to this webinar, basically, we kind of do a recap on the flow, the aggressive activity, the top bets we saw throughout the week, the interpretation we're taking away from the flow. In other words, how the sharp money may be positioning or speculating in the options market. Sometimes can reveal some big things in the works early on. So we like to look and listen closely there. All right. And we go over some strategy, game plan. We'll take some names from you guys, see what the hell you're looking at. We'll look at flow in those names, and we'll talk a little bit about how to prepare for this week. For those of you who have been around, you know, I'm a big proponent of game plan, okay? And there always should be a plan. I mean, sometimes the plan may be to do nothing, okay? But the market changes, okay? Things change. I'll give you a good example. Friday, okay, and you guys know, I do a little swing trading, but predominantly my bread and butter is day trading off sweeper activity, okay? And this week was pretty blah, okay? I couldn't make a dollar this week. A lot of scratch trades, both gains, losses. It was very selective activity out there. It just wasn't my type of climate, okay? So for me, being, playing this game as long as I am, it's almost like, like once the morning goes by, it's almost like you got a good sense that this day is not going to turn out to anything special. There's always the chance that something may pop up. But a lot of times I just like to tend to tread water, be a little conservative. I'm playing just to keep myself occupied in a sense. So I'm staying small, lighter. And that was, for the most part, going into this week. As you remember, we were talking about that last webinar, last Saturday, where it was more of a wait and see type environment we were going into, at least for the early part of the week this week, because of the rally, how far and how strong we came off the lows, the shift in sentiment. We spoke about that. Okay, so all the signals were telling me, at least, and I was sharing with you guys last Saturday, that for at least the early part of the week, to relax, allow things to set up again. Let's get a little more information. Let's see if sentiment turns in a specific direction, and then, plan accordingly. All right. And that, it pretty much went, again, as planned for most of the week. Okay. Very selective buying. There were names to look at if you were interested in looking to buy them on weakness and so forth. And then Friday, I came in thinking expiration. Sentiment was leaning a little, the shorter term sentiment was leaning a little in our favor. In other words, people weren't bullish. People were leaning towards bearish, but not any extreme. Okay, so sentiment was in our favor, but we walked into another gap up. And as you know, they were fading. They fade the gap up on Thursday. They sold into the gap up on Wednesday. They were selling into every rally. Okay. But what was different on Friday, and we had early signs in the flow, the buying was there. Okay. So in other words, in simple English, we were talking throughout the rallies on Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, even remember when the Fed minutes and the market exploded to the upside, we saw there was no buying coming in. Okay, usually we'll see algo sweepers, smaller momentum sweepers, looking to take advantage of the momentum, even if it's not much quality out there. We weren't seeing much of anything. Okay, the flow was pretty ugly, and when I see that, I don't mind missing out on a rally. As you can see, this is Thursday, by the way. Okay. Look at the red there. You know what I mean? Like we were strong on Thursday. You don't want to see that. All right. So there's a lot of red in there. So this is Friday now. Okay. And you can see we gap up. There were fades that people were worried were going to sell to market was going to go green to red. But look at the difference just in the colors off the board. Like, look at this. Okay. So that there was telling a lot of us that at the least the gains might hold. Okay. And it was possible to play off the upward bias, the momentum. Okay. Even though the market was up big, there were names that were flat catching action, that weren't up that much. People were trading names off intraday fades. I give you an example, a couple names, just names you guys trade: Netflix, Amazon, which are two of the stronger names out there. Okay. We're up pre-market. And then there was a fade in the market early on, and you could just feel it. Everybody thought that the market was just going to push to red, like we've been seeing. But again, the difference was there was wise guy money buying those fades. So we had a lot of people in the room to, trade Netflix. And Netflix ended up strengthening throughout the day, ended up closing at the highs. Amazon, we had degenerates in the room rolling the dice because, there was some action in Amazon weeklies expiring that day. Lottos in the sense. But people were looking to take advantage of that fade and look at that as an opportunity. So even though I was expecting something different, we've been seeing something different. This is the main reason why I show up every day, pay attention to the flow every day, and just don't, even though I may have a plan in a sense, I know when that plan needs to change. Okay. For me, the signals are, again, flow, right? Sentiment, if flow confirms, I'm there. It's that simple. All right. So the game plan is necessary, but not just the game plan, also knowing, what you need to see for that game plan to change and you to adjust accordingly. All right. And game plan is not something, when I stress the word game plan, I'm not trying to sound like one of these guys on social media. You got to have a mapped out thesis on what the macro picture looks like and all that crap. Okay. I wanted to show you guys. Let me see. I favored it. Let me see if I can find it here. How do you go to favorites on this here? 1 second. I'll show you guys. I'll show you guys what I mean by, okay. So this is something I post, brief, an easy read, right? Not something too complicated. But just basically at the end of the day, talks a little bit about the flow, a couple names that caught the better looking activity out there, what the flow may be signaling. And then I like to throw in the game plan thing. And if we're seeing anything that really warrants a change in the game plan. All right. And you can see right here, okay, at the end, bottom line, game plan remains the same. Now, here's what I mean on this is the game plan, and this was the game plan all week. Okay. Quick turnover trade. So in other words, anything you're looking to, possibly day trade, swing trade, but flip in the next day or two, quick turnover trades. Okay. So in other words, I wouldn't even say day trade. I would say hold overnight more than anything else, but not going out a couple months. Okay. A day or two. You guys know what I'm talking about. You're looking for action into weakness. Okay. And then you look to sell the rip when you get it. So in other words, based off the flow we're seeing, okay, we're seeing more of the aggressive activity come in when stocks are red. Okay, and then, what we see is, I give you an example. Wind caught a little bit of action. It was up like $1.75 that day. Okay, we were talking in the room, it was a good looking sweep, but the stock's up, almost $2 today. The market's up right now. So maybe we wait. Maybe tomorrow morning you get this thing weak and we see some more sweeper activity come in, and then you get a better price if you're looking for that shorter term trade. Okay. And sometimes they don't, right? Sometimes they continue to move higher. You miss it. What are you going to go? What's the worst that happens? What are you going to do? Okay. But sometimes they work out like that. When the next day is down $2, I think $3, and catches even better looking activity. All right. So now you got win down $3, activity coming in. If you were looking for that shorter term trade, you're looking to get into win in the weakness. When you get that squeeze over the next couple days or day, you're looking to sell into that and lock it in. That's that short term trade. Okay. And Win had something similar to that yesterday, was up, I think, $2 or $3. Okay. So, but anything, let's say that's not for you, right? That's not what you're looking to do. That's not part of your plan. You like to take positions. You like to hold a little bit longer. You're looking for the bigger move. Okay. So then you're focusing on the quality order flow. Okay. With some decent time behind it. All right. And what I try to do in the room, because no one's expected to be able to read the flow, understand the flow, what makes this, more quality than the next order. Yeah, I use my own slang. So like stuff I refer to as a bull missile, is obviously something special, or something that, again, I'm stressing is a big bet, a noteworthy bet for a name, is a lot different than just, another 1,000-lot call buyer in Apple. All right, so that's the special action that we talk about week in, week out, okay? And you want, when the market is as volatile as it is, premiums are jacked up. Basically, you just, in simple English, you have a crazy market. Anything you're looking for more than that quick turnover on, you're looking to stay with the quality and some decent time behind it. You want a blueprint for something like that? Micron. Okay? We were saying exactly that, right? When he actually came in. Micron is the blueprint for what you would be looking for in this environment. He went out to July. He bombed the living daylights out of it. The flow hasn't stopped since. And if you look, a lot of the better looking activity, the quality activity out there, has been outperforming, has been doing well. There's some names that aren't. I'll give you one, DHI. They went out further in time, the home builder. That stock hasn't done a thing since they bought it. But for the most part, all of the quality action has done well. Micron, Intel, WDC recently. I'm drawing blanks off that. Disney. So this is what I'm referring to as a game plan. Just something simple as this. Okay. And if you stick to it, not only does it allow you to become more disciplined, but you got a set of rules. It almost is guiding you through this mess and allows you to block out all the noise. Because trust me, when the market does this, you're going to have nothing but noise around you, from CNBC to social media to everybody talking about what they know this market's going to do. Oh, this is a crash. Oh, the lows are in. Oh, this, oh, that, constantly. Where they're clueless. They're all clueless. They have no idea. Their guess is as good as yours. Okay, so that's what that game plan allows you to do. All right, and that's why, like I mentioned to you, I get excited when I see this type of pull and I see all that noise saying the same thing, but I see the smart money doing the opposite. That's music to my ears, and that's what we got down here on that Friday. Okay. And, again, it's not only the stuff you can buy on that Thursday, Friday, which becomes such a great entry more than not, but it allows you to focus, on this initial move here on the buying of the weakness, buying the flush. Because rather than everybody else who's thinking we're going to retest the lows, right? Everybody and their mother, we always retest the lows. We always retest the lows. If you continuously said that to yourself, you didn't buy shit throughout this whole thing. Excuse my French. You realize that? What do you do now? And this is something we talked about in that webinar. What do you do now if you swore to yourself based off what? History? That the market was going to retest the lows and not to do anything here. What do you do now? You sit and watch, even if this market climbs higher and continues to move higher, are you just going to sit and watch and not buy anything until we test the lows? So that's where that stuff becomes foolish, guys. You know what I mean? It becomes foolish. And throughout my experience, when everybody's saying the same thing, it never happens. If everybody's waiting for a retest of the lows, you think this market's just going to listen and come and retest the lows so everybody can buy down here again? So that's why it pays, to look at and pay attention to the signals you have confidence in. And like I said, for me, I'm biased. It's flow and sentiment, but that's what allows me to block out the noise. Okay. And the game plan allows me to participate. So even if I don't necessarily want to chase green, right? If that's part of my game plan still right now, I do not want to buy when the market's up 300 and the stock I'm looking at is, plus $3 or $4. I'd rather buy it on a down day, even if the stock heads, a little bit higher from here. It still allows me to participate. It still allows me to participate. And throughout this whole move here, if you focused on just buying the weakness when it was there, you could have flipped almost everything you bought, basically, right? Because all we were doing was this throughout the whole week. So if rather than buying the highs, you waited for weakness and bought that, you probably got out the next day with a short-term profit. Okay, and like I said, if that's not your game, maybe you're holding a Micron out to, with some July calls, Intel, maybe an underperformer, DHI is part of that equation. All right, so that's what we basically take away from this. That's what we learn from this, okay? But like I said, it's a simple game plan like what I just showed you. Like that's the game plan for me, no matter what type of trader I was. Okay, for day trading, it's easier. Let's be honest. It's easier because you're not holding overnight, so a gap down is not going to kill you. Especially if you're trading equity, it's a lot easier. You press a button and you're out. Small loss, it's all on you, basically. So, but for me as a day trader, that was my plan. My game plan for the week was same thing. I did not want to chase any strength. Okay, because sometimes I don't just focus on the quality action, the day trade. I like those smaller momentum sweepers. They create nice momentum intraday. I'm a big fan of those. I find success off those. Okay, but if the flow is not there when the market's up huge and things are up huge, I don't want to participate in that. I rather wait for some selling to come in and let them buy that selling. If they don't, they don't. Or on a day like Friday, I'll participate a little bit more because the flow is there at least, right? So that's my game plan. All right, but pretty much that's what we saw this week. That was the game plan. It didn't change all week. Okay. And I still think we're in that type of environment right now. I think it's prudent to stay that way as we head into the early part of next week until we see a little bit more. But something, again, similar to like the lows, something did look different Friday. Okay. And what looked different, what the hell? Oh, I'm on the likes. What looked different was this. All right. You guys remember I was almost apologetic, right? I was apologizing to you guys the last webinar because there was nothing besides the same names, right? The Micron, the Intels, the names that already caught the activity. There was nothing really new. The list, remember that I think there was 3 bets on last Saturday's webinar, if you guys remember. This is going to look a lot different, okay? We got 1, 2, 3 pages of some decent activity, and this is just the top activity out there on Friday. All right, so let's take this. Micron, I put this on here for a reason. This Tepper guy has been destroying these July calls. The flow hasn't stopped, literally. Up, down, sideways, crooked. If you're in the room or a member of private Twitter, you can vouch. The Micron flow has been insane. And in my opinion, I get questions why. There's only one reason I got. I don't know any other reason. And that's the simple reason that Friday into the lows, what was different than all these others, we saw these Tepper-like sharp sweeps come back in. And this flow just exploded. Okay, exploded. So that's why I threw this on the list again. He's been doing this all week. Yeah, typical him. July 24s, 2.2 million. Nobody even looking at the bet. Big preem. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Here's an interesting name, Mike. If you're out there, this is what I was talking about. I don't know if this was one of the names on your list that you were looking at in the food sector, but this caught a beauty on Friday. Now, here's the scoop here. This QSR has been seeing some flow. There's definitely been an uptick in flow, period, recently. And, there were some decent-sized blocks that came in. There was a recent sweeper. We said it looked like a big deal because it was mostly block trading in QSR. Now sweepers are starting to participate. All right, so this is what this QSR looks like on a daily. All right, so you can see down, right? This is a daily here. Yeah, right? Yeah. All right, try and find the bottom here, base it out a little bit. And there were some rumors that they were going to buy Domino's Pizza, but then that got shot down. But they were the buyer, from what I know, rumored to be the buyer. But this is significant activity right here. First, they hit up the April 60s, so catches more activity early on in the morning. Again, another sweep. Okay, sweeps multiple exchanges. But then this bet comes in later on in the day and lays some decent wood. Okay, these are July 50s. Lays some decent wood you can see here. So deep in the money, $10. Opening activity. There was more on this line. There was 1,500 total on this line. Accidentally, I put the block. There was a sweeper here for the same amount. So there was an aggressive bet for the same thing as this lot here. This is significant. This is significant activity for this name. All right, had a little reaction off it late in the day. Nothing huge, but the market makers jumped around a little bit, got a little nervous. They don't want to bet like that on their books. Hold on. You can see. You know, strong at the end of the day. I think this is where the bet came in. So you can see the spike there, retraced a little bit, and then closed strong. Okay. But again, significant activity in this July line, this QSR. Ulta. That's a name a lot of you guys follow. Caught some real nice action late afternoon. March 9th, 190s. Look at this guy, what he's laying. March 9th, 195s. They get swept for $13 to open. And then here again, the 190s. Basically, 7 minutes after this first guy paid $17.45, he pays $17.80. So, pretty aggressive activity for Ulta. Huh? This is what Ulta looks like. This was the daily, the intraday. Hold on. So, talk about a spot. This thing hasn't rallied at all, right? No rally whatsoever. Until late Friday when the action came in. So, by accident, there could be a squeeze there. So, you know what I'm saying? Even though the market was up, you could see. You see what some of these names look like? That's what I'm hoping happens here. I was hoping to see more of that this week, but it was more of just consolidation, kind of. I'm hoping to see the quality now start to look at other stuff that really didn't participate. They went into the big stuff, the generals, some of the hotter names like a Micron and Intel, but a lot of stuff got left behind across several different groups. Hoping it becomes a little more of a stock pickers market here. QD, they have earnings. That's the issue here. Okay, but a significant bet there. A lot of us day traded it. We had to off that bet. Because again, they have earnings. It catches the bet catches earnings. But we felt that a significant bet like this would more than likely generate some momentum intraday. Because this was a significant bet. 5,000 April 15s. So that's a 400,000 plus sweeper there in QD. And another name, we actually traded this name once before. I think it was back here off the lows. Had a nice 2-3 day pop squeeze. And you can see dead, absolutely a dead heartbeat. Where did I put a 5 minute up? And you can see the reaction. This is a 5 minute. So you had time to get in this for a day trade, no doubt. But a big move. Big move for a $13 number. Personally, if you're interested in it, and a lot of people are because it's that dead heartbeat, maybe some momentum comes in for a squeeze type play, just make sure you navigate around earnings. I wouldn't. There's not much I would hold through earnings, and I wouldn't hold this through earnings. This name caught activity Friday, late Friday as well. I chose not to play it because there was so much other action going on, and it was a bit pricey. I played the equity, FLT. But some decent looking sweeper activity. April 210s, March 210s. Both sweepers there. This is the reaction. This is a 5 minute, maybe. This is the intraday reaction off the bet. You can see a nice move. Caught it here. And this is what the daily looks like, kind of like the overall market. What else? Schlumberger, they're back for some more Schlumberger. Schlumberger, right back to where it started, if you can believe that. Well, you can believe it. The market took a hit. But remember Schlumberger, how hot it got off the activity back here? They actually bought some and got trampled here. had a big move. They bought some into this weakness here, and they got run over, and they're buying some here again. But I just like this here. You know what I mean? I like that this is just, like I like to say, laying dead on the concrete floor type of thing. Because then, if you see activity come in, you can play for that high probability of momentum coming into a base, kind of off a pull. So this, if you're not in it already, closed up $1.50. Again, you see some weakness Monday, almost like the win setup is how I would probably play that from here. Let's see what else. ERX caught some activity. A couple of energy names saw some activity out there, from the ETFs to Schlumberger, ExxonMobil, smaller sweepers, Hess, HES caught some action. That was the day prior, some real nice action. There was another energy name that caught half decent action. But ERX, the degenerate ETF for energy, leveraged, again, dead on the concrete. All right, here's the win action again on Friday. So they've hit these May calls several times now. These are decent looking sweeps on this win. Decent looking sweeps. Now you got a lot of, there's news out, you know what I mean? You got the whole win situation, blah, blah, blah. It has been some decent time around that. You like to let that settle down kind of. And this thing looks like it found a shorter term bottom at the least. And for the first time throughout all this, there's real sweepers. There's real sweepers. So when, again, there were several of us who bought it on that down day. Wednesday? Was it Thursday? Thursday. Oh, I'm wrong, John. It looks like that. Dead heartbeat. Similar, right, Dean? You can see the bias I have to my technical patterns here. Yeah, found the bottom here. Same thing. Found some sort of a base here, and here was that down day. Remember, up, I was telling you, then down, caught some more activity, and caught some more activity on Friday. So if you were looking to make a playoff win, a lot of you guys were asking me about win. That's your signal. That's what I was telling you guys. Wait for real sweeper activity. Give it some time. Let the news die down. You don't want to just rush in, especially if there's not any real flow. Let the news die down. See, hopefully it finds some sort of base. It did. And then real sweepers would be your signal. And they're coming in right here. I think it got swept 3 straight days, right? 3 straight days. All predominantly in May. There were some April calls that some people in the room took a shot on. I think they actually flipped them the next day, but there was some April activity, but the sharp stuff was in May. This came in late Friday. This particular one came in late Friday. 3:15, right? 15:15 is 3:15. A couple of us day traded win on Friday morning too, because there was some spec action in weeklies expiring the end of the day Friday. This was a block, but a huge block. Masco. I didn't see any stock tied, which is strange. So there's always a possibility that it can be tied, but look at this block. 5,100 plus July 37 calls. Pays $7, 3.6 million. I'm not the biggest fan of action like that. It's cost me a lot of winners too, but it's more prone to failure in my opinion. Like if that was a sweep, My job is to get the whole entire steam room to at least own a piece. You understand? But it's a block. So there's the possibility that it may be tied to stock, even though it wasn't reported as such. If you like the name, I think you can take a shot. If you're a little hesitant, I think what I would do personally is wait to see if any sweeper activity comes in to confirm it, that it's in play. That's what I would do personally. But if you were eyeing this name, it's worth, start our initial position and see what happens from there. Again, decent looking, I mean, my technicals, guys, as far as the technicals I look at, chart and all that stuff, I just hate buying strength. It's as simple as that. I like buying out of consolidation off, some pullbacks. That's my bread and butter. That's, but it's that simple. Like, you guys see me sometimes get fancy on Twitter and stuff like this. The Hearst bands, you know what I mean? The entry indicator and all that stuff. That's all that stuff helps me is avoid buying strength. That's all. It gives me a quick look at, what kind of entry I have on my hands. So, like, for example, this is a simple QQQ chart, but just an example. Oh, you know what? Like, even a micron, I guess we can use. A micron's not as good, but, so if I see price at the lower end, below the green band, that's a better entry than if it was above the red band. So on a shorter term horizon, if price is above the red band, I would wait for a little bit of pullback for a better entry. It's not buy, sell signals and all that crap. That's what this stuff all is. I've been a big fan of buying consolidation and weakness for a long time in my career now. As a trader, over shorter time spans, I think it can help you out in a big way if you focused on that. But you're going to miss winners. And that's the issue. People, when they miss, with a lot of traders, especially newer traders, when they miss winners, like, let's say they say, all right, I'm going to wait for weakness. I'm not going to chase this name. And the stock runs another $3-4 the next day. That plan goes out the window. Because the thought of them missing a winner just destroyed their lives. But it's something to focus on, especially in choppy markets, volatile markets. Like I said, if you did that all this week, you know what I mean? Just focused on buying pullbacks instead of strength, you would have been in great shape. So that's just that's my technical analysis for you there. Okay. Just so you think I'm not getting too fancy here. So that's the Masco. There were a couple more. No? Yeah. Skechers had some aggressive activity early on. I scalped it. That was probably the worst move of the day for me because that thing didn't stop the whole entire day. Here's the daily. Strong, been a strong name. And here's the intraday. Okay, let me pull it up. Well, you can see here, it caught the action early on and was just a strong performer. And action throughout. So Skechers, a bunch of small aggressive players there opening in the March 23rd, $40 calls. You can see all sweepers here too. And believe it or not, Netflix, some crazy action there. May 285s. There was a block there. I wasn't, 100% convinced. Then they started to sweep it. And that's where a lot of players, I traded it as well, took Netflix for a ride. Just based off the sharper activity. It allowed you to buy dips too, any fades. I I don't know if there were any fades afterwards, after I got out of the stock, because I wasn't really looking at it. Um, but a lot of people were saying since right after that order, that's Netflix really kicked it into gear after that. Well, the market too, though, because we saw the flow real. There was like a time in the day where flow really started to pick up. SPY sweepers, even though they were rolling, some of the SPY sweepers really started to accelerate. And I think it was right after Trump was running his mouth on TV. So you could see 11 o'clock, 11 to noon, 11 to lunchtime, around there, yeah. So that's right around 11 to noon. Yeah, so throughout this is where that sweeper activity took place. And then you could see had a nice move. All right, so again, just as simple as this. You see what I'm showing you here, right? There's some decent bets just off this. There was a ton of other stuff out there, repeat stuff, Intel, which already has moved significantly that I'm not sharing with you guys here. You could see off this board, especially later in the day. Yeah, Brent, I mentioned the QD. They have earnings is the only thing I mentioned you would need to avoid there. I wouldn't hold through earnings like most stuff, but a lot of us did day trade it. So what's this all mean? Okay, so this is what I was telling you guys. I mean, me personally, what I would treat the market the same way as far as chasing strength. You know what I mean? I still think that if we see any weakness, and I think we should, I really do. I think we should see some volatility still out there and some weakness still out there. Okay. If we see some flow come into that weakness, I think you have that trade there still. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Okay. I'm never a big proponent of chasing green, and I sure don't want to do that, after the market has moved as such. Now, let me throw a couple other things out there because I'm sure you guys are going to ask about it. Okay. Here's the thing that's a concern. This is something we look at shorter term. This is short-term sentiment. Okay. So understand that. If we open up down Monday, not even in a big way, I'm talking about down less than 0.5%, we might see this back to neutral. That's how quick shorter term positioning sentiment has moved. Okay. So even though this is a little bit concerning about the immediate short term, this can be fixed with some consolidation weakness or a breather early next week. Okay. But going into Monday, we're a bit hot. So we got to understand that. And I mean, look at the day we had, Friday. All right. Some of the other stuff looks okay, pretty much neutral-ish. Like I'll give you an example. This is the equity put the call I look at. Yeah, that's good, right? Then neutral. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, you don't want to make too big of a deal out of this unless you're seeing extremes. All right. When you see this like this and you have flow confirming, that's as strong as a buy signal that I'm going to see. All right. When you see it hanging around the red here, that's just, again, not a short signal. There's nothing on my end you're going to get a short signal out of. So forget it. But that's a sign of caution. All right. So if you're too long, size down, don't look for any new additional entries if you got some long exposure. That's what that means. So neutral doesn't mean much. It's okay. All right. Some of the other stuff we look at, did I post the NASDAQ sentiment indicator? I didn't post that. That's in better shape. Remember that ND? Oh, here it is. It's even lower now. I think this is Friday. I'm not sure. Remember we were talking about this? Now this is more of an intermediate term sentiment indicator, okay? This doesn't move around as fast as the squeezometer or the equity put the call. It's not structured that way. Okay. So, as the bearishness sinks in, that's why we're starting to see this thing really come down, and moves the same way to the upside as well. So this is more of, if you're not actively trading every single day, this is something you would definitely pay attention to. All right. So this is in a lot better shape overall, right? By the way, there was something I read too. It's not as powerful as we saw the last time, where we saw the FANG names most shorted they ever were. Remember that? Now I heard, as far as exposure to FANG and tech, hedge funds have no exposure, no long exposure. They're not short, but they have no long exposure whatsoever. That's a good thing, right? That's a good thing. So, some of these things have really panned out nicely sentiment-wise. I can't believe I didn't post that other stuff. I thought I did. Some of the stuff off Sentiment Trader, the intermediate term stuff looks great. This is Dumb Money off Sentiment Trader. All right. So I guess the way I would label it is, some of the shorter term, extreme short term sentiment is a bit hot. We can use a little cooling there. And the intermediate term sentiment stuff actually looks pretty decent. Okay, they're not at buy signals anymore, but they're still in pretty decent shape. So that's what I would mention on the sentiment side. All right. So that's where we're at. Again, promising side Friday at a flow. Some real nice action. We'll see if it carries over into next week. I'm hoping to see more of the same, where they focus on some of, not even the laggards, just some of the stuff that didn't participate as much to the upside. It doesn't have to be laggards per se. You had like some of the hot tech names really take off. Some of the other stuff didn't perform as well. Look at it. I mean, Intel was a nice one. You know what I mean? Like, look at that. For Intel, that's a nice move off that missile. Microsoft has seen a lot of flow. That's looked great. The Micron we spoke about. WDC, remember that recent missile? Wasn't that Saturday we were talking about that as the only missile? Was that last Saturday, guys? I think so, right? Yeah. Maria, if I remember correctly, I think that was the only one we had on the list here, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe there was an ETF or something, but look at this. And Maria, you've been all over these names, So there's been some nice moves, and I think if some of the better looking action can start to spill over into other things, we could be in good shape. And the good thing is, the market could just hang around. We don't need the market to break out to new highs for that. Basically, they'll just be playing catch up with the other stuff. That's what I'm hoping for, that we don't have to rely on this market. Because you know what, guys? If we rely on this market and this thing just goes to and test highs, I don't want that stuff. You know what I mean? I don't want the riffraff tagging along. You guys know that. I'd rather have this choppiness, and selectively they pick apart certain names in certain spots, almost in a surgical way. That would be ideal. All right, so let me get to some of your questions. I know you guys were firing at me already, so let me get to some of your questions as far as names. But if you have any questions about any of this we spoke about too, game plan, strategy, flow, whatever the case, sentiment, let me know. Yeah, Maria, GLW saw some flow Friday. That's probably what you're talking about. One was a block, which, are more of a sweeper guy. But there were a couple people interested in the room with this name because of this, that fits the bill, Maria, as far as this laggard stuff that could pick up. in coming days. All right. So if you were eyeing the name, I think Friday there was activity, enough activity for you to take a look. If you're not sold on the name yet, like myself, I would wait for some follow through sweeper activity to come in, just to signal that the momentum is coming. You know what I mean? Rather than just the bullish bets, sweepers, in my opinion, mean momentum. So I just want to see a little more sweeper activity for this thing to confirm it's ready. But this was a nice pull too. This was a hot name. Hot name. Corning. George is saying TLT, Celgene, and NVAX. TLT, we saw some players trying to dip buy this thing. Mixed in with some put flow, George, but I'll give you the lines they were buying. Hold on. Definitely some dip buying and some time behind it too, if I remember correctly. Hold on. A lot of people looking at this, similar to the utilities, the XLU, which finally caught some buying. So here, yesterday, George, there was, nothing huge here, but a sweeper, some blocks. Here you have a May. I think this was the big bet we saw was a block, George. Hold on. 590. Yeah, the only thing I would say, George, again, this is more of a preference thing for me. We're seeing the size on the block end. You know what I mean? But again, there's blocks buying. You know what I mean? There are blocks buying. So March, April. This one's May, the big one. So some time behind it. I would like to see, like a lot of stuff, I would like to see sweepers really get aggressive. You guys remember we talked about XLU and it kind of was working out the same way. Then we saw some sweeper activity really start to come in. Not really too crazy, but there was some sweeper activity that came in. So kind of like I want that TLT to set up in a similar way. Maybe we'll get that this week, George. Maybe we'll get that this week. What's the other name you mentioned? Celgene. There's been some buying further out in Celgene, block buying. Nothing that really I remember off of. I'll get it for you. Let me see. I don't think it was a sweep. What the hell? I keep getting lost here. Here we go. I think this is a sweep back in. Oh, this was the sweep 213. Oh, there was a sweep. Here you go, George. This is a good looking sweep. I wonder if he rolls that 9. He might have rolled that. That was before earnings. But here's the order here. September 105s. The stock was 91. That's where it is now, right? 95. And then there was a small block. Forget that. I wouldn't even look at that. So September, you got some action in September 105s. You follow that September guy, Brent, this one here on 213. Yeah, I don't know why don't for some reason I didn't remember that guy. Maybe I think weren't earnings in the way too. Maybe that's why I don't remember it. Anyway, yeah, Celgene, you got September action. Let's see. And Brent went with a call spread, 105, 120 call spread. So you see, guys, again, you can structure these things. That's a good idea, in my opinion. You don't have to mimic orders, depending on what type of trader you are, and depending what kind of knowledge you have as far as options are concerned. There's so many ways you can play these things. James is asking, game plan question for determining opening orders with high probability of out-of-the-money movers. Size of bet greater than ask, positive. I don't know what you're asking me. I'm already dizzy, James. off that question. I don't know exactly what you're asking there, but as far as if you're asking what I'm looking at, it's not size has something to do with it, but I'm looking more for that aggressive behavior. In other words, size blocks, I'm not going to get excited about unless there's some aggressive activity around it. Yeah, so if you're talking about criteria, there is no set criteria. For me personally, I'm looking at the overall flow. There's no set guidelines. You know what I mean? I don't have a scan set, if you're asking that. I'm looking at the overall flow, but the stuff that I deem significant, okay, I'll give you an example. Let me do this. Okay, there are bets, James, and this is a good question. I don't know what you were asking. This is a good question. Now, there are bets all damn day, James. Okay, there's call buying and put buying all day long. 99.9% of it is useless information throughout my experience. Okay, what I've found throughout the course of my career, I found there's an edge off the aggressive activity. Okay, the stuff real bets. Okay, because we don't know whether something's a hedge, they're protecting a short, right? A block, they could be replacing an equity position. There's so many damn things. A lot of people don't understand. The option market is not used just for directional speculation. It's used for so many other things. Okay, so I'm trying to narrow down and focus on the stuff I feel is an aggressive speculative bet. Okay, they're using the market, the options market, for leverage on a position they may be involved in. Tesla is a good example. Okay, so obviously I don't have a set criteria for contract size because I would have never even acknowledged this. You know, I don't have a set criteria as far as being too much in the money or near the money or anything like that, but just the characteristics of this bet. You know, even if you think about realistically, a player aggressively swept multiple exchanges. Okay, so basically he stressed urgency in opening this position. He swept multiple exchanges for a 272 of the September, right? He's got some time behind it. 320 Tesla calls for $37. Now we know that's not any of us here in the webinar playing those, correct? Anybody in here play anything like this? So that takes out the retail crowd completely, correct? No matter what the contract size. We know he's not looking to on the cheap side, right? We know he's not looking at pure speculation, because if he was, he'd go out of the money and buy more contracts of cheaper premium and spend less money. So we know this guy is making a bet on Tesla over the next, 5 months. And why is he doing that? Because he got a dip that he possibly thought Santa Claus brought to him. Now, again, this comes with the experience and being around. You don't see this much in Tesla. You understand? You'll see call buying in Tesla. You see it all damn day, every day. But you're not going to see this. So that's what I focus on. If you go to wallstreetjesus.com, James, or anybody out there, and you go to the strategy section, the tab right here, strategy, scroll through the blogs. It explains basically what I'm looking at, James, in a little bit of detail. All right? Hope that answers your question. Dean is saying, oh, sorry, Dean, that was from this morning when we were talking about. Brent is saying, question, Jay, if Tepper thinks MU can double, he said that around 40, why does he buy the call so deep in the money? Good question. Brent, he may have some out of the money stuff. You know what I mean? I can't, in other words, who knows? We see out of the money call buying in Tesla, in Micron. So Appaloosa may be participating in that. But when these guys really build positions, Brent, what they do is they're not just buying options, they're buying equity. And then they go to the option market for some leverage. They're not, even though he says it may double, he's smarter than that. These guys don't play out of the money options. And when they do, they're speculating, they're rolling the dice. You know what I mean? They're not making big bets like we're seeing. This is just a way, rather than just playing the equity, going into the option market and pretty much playing the equity, but utilizing some leverage. You understand? He's not, those guys don't load up in out of the money junk. Because you know what, Brent? Even though he tells us that he thinks it can double, he don't know for sure. You know what I mean? He don't know. Maybe it goes up 50%. And he don't want to be eaten up on some stupid calls if it doesn't. He knows, listen, these guys are looking for the delta. You know what I mean? They want to make a big bang for their buck. So when they hit it, they like to hit it, stay in the money, near the money, deep in the money. And when they hit it, they're going to get paid. When they're confident, they're not afraid of dishing out the cash like you and I. You understand? That's what sticks out to me when I see these things. That's confidence, right? You got to have confidence, Brett, to do that. You don't need much confidence to buy out of the money lottos. So that's what they're looking to do with that. And by the way, what's his other position? It used to be Bank of America was his top position. I think it's still a top position, but he didn't add to it. I think he decreased. He added to Facebook, and the action in Facebook's been picking up. May calls really starting to catch some big wood there. Facebook. So Micron and Facebook were his two ads. Yes, Gary's got a great point too. He's saying, keep in mind, if big investors buy out of the money options, then the market makers have to do things to cover the bet. They push the price in the opposite direction. So yeah, there are several reasons, but the most important thing, and I understand the curiosity, Brent, that's what you're asking, but it's not even for me the why, is just based off my experience. That's the real stuff. And it doesn't have to be deep in the money. It just happens to be deep in the money with Micron, these Tepper sweepers. Some are right there. But for the most part, they lay the wood. They lay the premium. They're not ashamed to lay that premium. Remember the GBT action we saw? Remember how we were talking about what made that action special? Those sweepers that came into that GBT, that biotech, and a biotech nevertheless, they laid wood. You know what I mean? They could have very easily, in something like this, went way out of the money and bought some calls. Like, it takes a pair of coconuts to get aggressive in a name like this and lay big premium like that. Right? You got to be confident. You got to be confident. For us, think about that. What do we know, right? What are we looking at? A chart and stuff, right? We're looking at Elliott Fibonacci's. I mean, we're not going to lay wood like that. These guys know a lot more than you and I. That's the point. Unfortunately, that's the way the game is. INCY George, there was a bet. I think there's earnings coming, but there was a bet. Let me find it for you. INCY. I remember there being a bet. earnings bet. Oop. INCY. Oh, this expired? Wait a second. They had earnings already or no? Oh, they're done. Okay, they're done. All right, so this was the earnings bet here. But no sweeper activity, just blocks. I didn't know if they had earnings. So this expired though, right? Friday, that's done. These are from a while ago. Oh, these are from Jan 22, last year. Yeah, so that was the most recent bet there, George, INCY. So I would pay attention to any sweeper activity now, without a doubt, if you like that name. The spot is, like many other things, pretty solid down there. Yeah, on the CLVS has seen action, right? Block activity, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if anything recently, but hold on. CLVS. I know there's been block activity there. That's another biotech, by the way. I haven't seen anything new in the biotech sector. This is the last. You got a couple spread out blocks here, Ani. Nothing really. But again, all blocks, you know? Tough to. If you like the name, you could use it in indicator fashion, like I said. But for me, I got to see sweeps. But there's definitely been some blocks there. I haven't seen anything. The last aggressive activity we were seeing sweeper side was ABBV, if you guys remember. Then they rolled those out. I'm trying to think biotech, anything recently in juicy. Oh. I knew there was one Friday. They have earnings, right? Jazz. This is a biotech? Yes. It was a decent looking spot too. There's Jazz caught a decent bet. Let me get it for you guys. When anybody have a date on? Yeah, James, I'm talking about the smaller biotechs. Anybody have a date as far as Jazz earnings offhand? I think they're coming up. 227, Maria's saying, so they're coming up. Because I'll be honest with you, I like this order. And, Jazz doesn't catch anything huge. Once in a blue moon, has been a decent performer. They swept the March 150s opening sweeper there. 227 earnings, though, in the way. Half decent look to it. Had a nice reaction off it, some strength. Yeah, look at that thing. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the bet was over here somewhere, or maybe over here. So name to keep an eye on. You could keep an eye post earnings. Like, for example, that QD. I don't know who asked me about that. Again, there's a couple ways. A lot of us day traded it off the heat. You could swing trade it and then sell it before earnings. Maybe you get a little bit of squeeze prior to earnings. And then, in my opinion, it's a must-watch post-earnings. Definitely a must-watch post-earnings. Yeah, so, Brent, you're in those April 15s to QD. So you got, I don't know when earnings are. They're in the way, I know that. So, but post-earnings, if you get a very little reaction, that's a must-watch, in my opinion. Must-watch. Because there's been some August flow, too, in that QD further out. So the only thing in the way there is earnings. And like I said, this thing barely has a pulse. Look at that. You could get a by accident squeeze to maybe 17, 18. So we'll see what happens there. ANDV, there's been some block activity. That's an energy name that's been destroyed. So there's some buying down there. Not really my cup of tea. As far as energy, Friday, this FTI saw some decent action. Really slow name, though. FTI, is that the symbol? Wait a second. Isn't it FTI? Yeah, FTI. You had a little gap up there. March 5th earnings on QD, Brent saying, if you were wondering, March 5th. So this is the FTI energy name, caught some action Friday. And decent action. It's just a grinder. Trust me, I've traded this name before. Hess, but that had a little move already. Hess, real nice action. Starting to move. Schlumberger, what was that? Oh, PXD, saw some buying. Stuff like that. Yeah, WLL caught some activity, but that was pre-earnings. Look at this. Pre-earnings. This WLL caught some action pre-earnings, so that was a mess. Ronaldo saying lows. There was rolling activity I saw in lows on Friday. In other words, they were pushing positions out, adjusting positions. May not even been out. And you know what we've been seeing a lot of too, guys? You know how they roll out a lot of times, right? When they make profit, they roll out. We've been seeing a lot of roll back, roll in type of stuff. In other words, let's say they played the May, let's say in lows, they played the May 105 calls. Okay. But they got caught in a pullback. Okay. They got caught. They're human. Everybody gets caught, guys. It's a normal thing. Okay. They still like the name here. They take that position, they close it, and they come down in strikes. So they're dishing out more money and looking for that higher delta. Okay, so if they were in the May 105s, we've been seeing a lot of stuff that'll come down to, let's say, the 102s or the 101s and open up a new position there. So we've been seeing a lot of that. And that's more bullish than the rolling up because they got to come out of pocket. And it tells you they're still bullish to name. They just got caught, you know? So we've been seeing a lot of that too. A decent amount of that. Yeah, Maria Tripp caught some repeat activity. That's at higher levels, but is breathing nicely here. Looked like a little put selling there too. The thing to watch there, I'm told, Priceline earnings coming. So that will probably have an effect on this trip. I think Priceline earnings this week, right? I think. But that's something, yeah, that's something to keep an eye out. People were telling me right away when I posted that action on Friday. But yeah, some decent action and has been. Trip has seen some decent activity. This piece of garbage finally seeing some decent activity. And Kevin saying, how much do I pay attention? 227 on the earnings price line. How much attention do you pay to lotto sweeps? It depends. It depends what you're looking, you know, how you're looking to trade off. I gave an example early on. We were seeing lotto players in Amazon on Friday. They bought this fade, okay, and they were playing out of the money calls that expire the same day. It wasn't a lot of money, okay, but you know, if you're a day trader, you think it was worth a shot. You're seeing the flow bullish, right? You think Amazon can squeeze. You got a nice little pull there. You know, that's what they're for. I mean, I wouldn't. Again, the goods at a flow. You know, most of you are aware already, but if you're not aware, you know, Kevin, it's the Micron, the Tesla, you know, the stuff we're seeing. And, you know, sometimes you get that upper echelon flow, right? You get Micron, GBT, that action. But then, you know, there's a notch below that. That's the WDC, the Disney. You know what I'm saying? So the sharper the flow, the more confidence behind that bet. Lottos is not really showing much confidence. Somebody's taking a little bit of money and rolling the dice. From my experience, they're right more than they're wrong, but they're also wrong a lot more on the lotto side than they would be on the sharp side for obvious reasons. You know? So There's a lot of members in the room. I cracked a joke of it on Twitter just an hour ago, but there are a lot of members in the room who day trade and love that lotto stuff. They love it. Look what these guys were playing. All right, he played the Amazon, bought it for 60 cents, sold it at $1.60. So, again, even if there are losses in between, that's a nice hit. If you win more than you lose, you should be profitable. That's what it comes down to. The traders that run into trouble are the traders that think because they see a lotto bet that you're going to hit at a 99% win clip. It's just not being realistic. VXX puts. We saw some lotto activity. They were buying puts expiring the same day. Again, Friday on the put side. You know what I mean? You can see even this member joking around. Out Amazon lottos. I probably shouldn't have, but did it anyway. So they're lottos. They're entertaining. Like I said, if you use the proper risk management, money management, net, you're going to make money. But if you're not expecting losers behind lottos, you're gonna have a costly lesson on your hands. And by the way, Friday, that was another indication that we were likely to see the gains, if not accelerate, hold. There was so much call sweeper activity expiring Friday initially. Everything was expiring Friday. Everything. Facebook caught a ton of it. There was just so much of it. So again, if you're a day trader, those are the stuff you can, that's the stuff you can utilize and make it a part of your strategy. Even if you're not playing that particular bet for sentiment reasons, right? You could see in that post there, somebody played SPY. You know what I mean? 10 cents to 30 cents. So, I mean, that's what we do there. Again, what we do in here, basically, we have a nice blend of so many different styles of traders. Okay. And I went through this on the webinar I did with Lucci, just to give a good idea of what we do in here. I mean, basically, it's me on audio, video. You know what I mean? Broadcasting throughout the day. I'm giving play-by-play and color on the action as it comes in, explaining what I feel is more for day trading, more for swing trading, what's better looking action than the other, and so forth. Okay. Lucci harping in on the tape side, talking about what he's seeing, what he's playing, and then traders reacting around it. Some guys are just playing ES off of flow. Some guys individual names, some guys equity, some guys options, some guys, there's a whole different mix. So there's no one way. I can't give a one blanket statement to a lot of the questions you guys ask, because it depends on, what type of trader you intend on being or are. It all comes down to that. Renato saying, was there a sweeper in OSTK for March? I thought I saw it on your feed. I think you're right. Let me see. Was he decent size? Do you know? Let me see. I could find it. OSTK. Do they have earnings or they're done? OSTK puts. No, that's January puts. You know what? I think on private Twitter, that's probably what you're talking about too. Maybe it was a smaller bet. Shoot, what I just did. Let me dig it up for you just in case you're interested. There, I think you're right though. I think there might have been an OSTK March buyer. I remember that for some reason. OSTK. Oh, small one. Yeah, you were right. Small March 2nd. March 2nd, not monthly. Oh, you got earnings there. That's why I don't remember it. Yeah. You guys are right. Earnings 3.6. Oh, Brent saying 227. I'm almost positive earnings were in the way though. No? I think that's why I don't remember. You guys got to double check on a name like this because even the one, the numbers we see could be wrong earnings dates. But anyway, March 2nd, 65 calls, small sweep there. Not tiny, but nothing big. We've seen a lot bigger in OSTK. Thanks, Deep. Deep already answered my question. I didn't even have to dig it up. I'm slow to see your post on here. That's why. All right, hold on. I saw a couple decent questions here. Let me get to everybody. Did you see Gunlock say Bitcoin price to tell for equities? Yeah. He's using Bitcoin as a sentiment indicator, is what he was saying, right? So yeah, he's saying the markets get a little interesting from here too. It is an interesting point in this market because if this inflation thing becomes just a little panic attack scare and rates stop hitting higher, you could get a real frenzy in buying out there, which is crazy. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting how things play out here because a lot of, like I said, hedge funds, again, not short, so we can't take it as a buy signal per se, but hedge funds with no net exposure to big tech and FANG, that's a lot of catching up to do if you get that explosion there. So it becomes interesting, becomes interesting. I saw that on Bloomberg last week. What else we got? Will there be SPX options in the room? James, I don't follow SPX. From time to time, I'll post a little commentary on it that I get from Trade Alert. But I don't follow SPX or VIX as much because there's a lot of hedging. Almost too much hedging. There's enough hedging in SPY and all that other stuff that we got our hands full. You know what I mean? SPX, there is a lot of action that's just not clean. So that's the problem there. That's the problem. I wish, because a lot of players too, members like to play SPX. But again, you can use the overall sentiment for ES and SPX, especially like these type of markets. Just a quick example I think I gave you guys recently. There are a lot of times when the market conditions warrant, we haven't seen that all last year, but like recently, where you get these flushes, okay, intraday, and it feels like the markets are ready to roll over, and then you just get this board light up green, and that's as strong a signal as you're going to get if you're a day trader, swing trader, or anything else. More so even day trading, because your risk is minimal there, right? Your risk is minimal. And like that Friday where we caught the lows, where everything just lined up perfect, you got minimal risk and huge upside on an intraday basis. We just had, again, the market, a decent amount of put action out there. Price action was looking bleak. Just everything lining up perfect into these lows. And then snap of a finger, just everything started to change. Micron missiles, flow starting to explode, price action trying to find a bottom. Lucci looking at the tape, seeing zero liquidity there, that the smallest amount of buying could get an exaggerated move to the upside. You get all those things lining up, and you get that huge reversal that a lot of times will lead to at least this. You know what I mean? A couple day squeeze. So you don't need to trade. Every alert doesn't have to be an actionable play on that name. Sentiment, I think, is one of the most underused edge when it comes to an edge that flow can provide. I talk a little bit about it here in the strategy section. You can use flow and aggressive sweeper activity just for those reasons and find a lot of success. What do we got here? Are there put Sharpies? Yeah, of course. I mean, Sharpies are Sharpies. It's just in bull markets, sharp players will use puts to protect and hedge their long exposure. That's that's the case in bull markets. There may be some directional playing here and there, but overall, they're mostly protecting their long exposure. Now, if we go into some bear market, of course, that's what you're going to see sharp put activity all over the place. And you're going to see a lack of call buying. It's almost like the roles reverse. Even in little periods of bearish activity, we see that. Before the election, I think it was like a good month, maybe a month and change before the election, we were seeing a lot of the sharp money focus on puts and VXX calls, UVXY calls, and all that stuff up until 2 days before the election, and then the flow tipped to the other side. So sharp players are sharp players. They play a certain way, and in bull markets, their bearish stuff a lot of time will protect their bullish stuff. Listen, there are guys out there trying to catch tops, but for the most part, the smarter money's not aggressively trying to do that. Okay? They may be extremely hedged. They've knocked down their long exposure to as little as they possibly can, but to go net short in a full-fledged bull market, there's not a lot of sharp money that's going to do that. Like I said, they may be net neutral, if that, but that's the extent of it. When things start to unravel, then it's a different story. We start to see a lot of that momentum put activity. That's the difference. PayPal, George is asking, PayPal saw some activity in April, some of the most recent flow. April calls, they were targeted. PayPal looking good. You know what another name looks good? ABA and Baba. But this AABA, they buy every freaking dip in this name, man, in size. Every dip. We were talking about this name a couple webinars ago. This has been the case throughout this whole move. We were trying to figure out what's the reasoning behind it. Is this just strictly a Baba play or what? But to be honest, at times the action is better looking in this ABA than in the Baba. But don't get me wrong, Baba's caught some big guys too. April 80s, Deep is saying we were seeing in the room. PayPal earnings 223. Oh, they're paying 223. My bad. April 80s, they're paying 223 on the PayPal. But yeah, this ABA name, always a watch on dips. The problem with these things, guys, you remember what I told you, it's been going on for a long time, So you kind of want to do the same there. You want to try to buy into some weakness if you see flow, and there's a good chance you're going to see flow in this name because they've been relentless for a good amount of time too now. JD, there's been flow there too. You got earnings coming up in JD. That should be interesting. Remember, we saw some really good looking JD flow right here, if you guys remember. And it exploded. And the flow, they've been concentrating, I think it's March primarily, and it catches earnings, I think. But yeah, this JD, a lot of these Chinese names look pretty good. They look pretty good. ABA March 2nd, 73s, Deep is saying they've been targeting. Yeah, this has been a good looking name, this ABA. Good looking name. And again, like I said, the Baba too. Baba too. You know, just Baba can catch size. I think that's why maybe Baba catches a lot of size no matter what. Where Abba, that wasn't the case up until recently. Late last year, around November, October, November, really started to heat up the flow there. What else? Before we close up shop, any other names that we got here? Any other questions I might have skipped over accidentally? Let's see. OSTK, I hit that. Lotto sweeps, I answered that question. ANDV. What is your strategy, Jesus? Do you do stocks and play? Yeah, my strategy primarily, I day trade the equity, I swing trade the calls. That's what that's my strategy. And that's been my strategy for the last several months now. I'm very selective on the stuff I swing. I like to lean towards stuff that has a little more time behind it. You know what I mean? And honestly, sometimes I do sell them quickly if I get that quick profit, and then maybe can revisit if I get another entry on it. But I'm very selective in the swing trade account and not as aggressive. Day trading the equity is primarily my bread and butter. That's primarily my bread and butter. My best days come a lot of times off flat markets, weak markets. If aggressive call sweeper activity comes into weakness, that's going to be my best day of the month. Give you an example. That Friday, well, those couple days, Friday into the early part of that week, that was my best week in quite a while. This past week, Friday, I had an okay day. From what Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I couldn't find a way to make any money. One of the days I made peanuts, then I lost some money, then the other day was a scratch, So that's a lot of times that happens with me. Yeah, depending on the action in the markets. If the action, like this week, the action was really selective, and sporadic and messy and sloppy. So when the flow is like that, I'm not trying to create my own crap. You know what I mean? When the flow is clean, that's when I'm usually working my best. And if there's a divergence, Friday there wasn't. Friday the markets were up and the flow was bullish. There was no divergence. But if the market's flat and the flow is extremely bullish, that's where I try to get really aggressive. I try to get really aggressive. Because, like, for example, let's say we got a weak market, right? Let's say nothing extravagant, but we got a little bit of profit taking, a little bit selling. And I'm seeing nothing but call sweeper activity come into that. I'm looking to get aggressive there. Because that's telling me that the smart money is taking advantage of that. And a lot of times we'll see the market react accordingly. So I want to get aggressive. I want to start looking for a couple of ways to get long. And then once the market catches up to the flow, I want to raise stops and lock in profit and stuff like that. But there are a lot of days, and I try to stress that to players who are looking to trade the same way I am. There are a lot of days that are just plain old scratch days. There are a lot of days I lose a little money or make a little money where a lot of other traders would say, what am I even doing here? Right? I'm losing commissions here. But I catch that one Friday, and that makes up for 6 months of that. You understand? So usually there's a period, listen, any trader who trades professionally, no matter what type of trader he is, there's always a period. If you're a swing trader, there's a period throughout the year you made the bulk of your money. You know, day trader, you're not making, like, I like when people say, I'm going to try to make $2,000 every single day. I mean, how's that possible? You're going to make $2,000 every single day in the market? How the hell do you expect to do that? You know, so again, maybe it's possible. I haven't seen it. The traders that I've grew up around in this business, it all, you know what it's like? You guys, some of you who are baseball fans, right? The good hitters, what do? 1 for 4, 1 for 4, 1 for 4, 4 for 4, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, 6 ribbies. Right? They're not going 4 for 4 every night. All the top hitters go Nats. All the top hitters, I mean, that's what they do. They do it in, you know what I mean? They do it in, when they get hot, they do it in bunches, and then they cool off a little bit. That's you know, sports gambling. That's when you're an active trader. That's what you're doing. You're gambling. You're looking to gamble professionally. If you don't want to gamble, okay, you should be an investor. You should be investing. You want to go a notch below that? Be a trend trader. Simple. Trade the overall trend. Trade against the 200-day moving average. You're not going to generate an income off that, but you know, you have some decent returns in bull markets. You'll get out when markets get a little shaky. Market breaks below the 200-day. You go into cash. Yeah, no stress, nice and easy. You don't have to put too much thought behind it. Yeah, that you're a trend trader. Nothing wrong with that. But you want to actively trade. You want to actively trade options. My guys, you're gambling. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You guys are gambling. We're gambling. Now, that doesn't mean there's a lot of gamblers out there. You have degenerate gamblers and you got professional gamblers, right? Throughout my whole childhood, my father was a degenerate gambler. But I had the luxury of meeting and seeing professional gamblers around him do the things he couldn't do. When he went to the racetrack every day, he had to bet all 9 races. The professional gamblers went to the racetrack. They watched 8 races just to bet the one that they had the edge in. So, but that's, you know, I guess that's why I'm, you know, so passionate about this game. You know, there's a lot of action. It's gambling. If you find a way to rein in the emotion, add some risk management, add a game plan, a strategy that keeps you a little bit disciplined, you could make something out of it, you know. But you want to trade, you know, you want to trade for fun, or you want to be conservative, and you know, take the other side of the fence. You want to be conservative, then be an investor. You know, tuck away some good companies, buy some ETFs. Buy some ETFs on dips. Ani's saying, do you size up if you see very good odds? Yeah, without a doubt. You know, I don't even say, Ani, that I would size up in a name. I size up in exposure, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So in other words, like that Friday, I look to get long a lot of things, more things than I would prior to Friday. So whatever names are catching action, I look to put on some of those names. You know, sometimes I'll make a play on the overall market. You know, and I like to press a lot of times. So if, let's say, I'm long a couple names, I lock in gains, race stops on those names. I'm looking for other names that are catching heat, you know, and I'm looking to ride that momentum. You know, other days, I'm not doing that. Like other days, my big winners come from luck, Ani. You heard me say that before. You know, my big winners come from luck. I get into a name, I catch some chatter, I'd even get a chance to sell it and it explodes higher. You know, I wasn't positioning for it. It come by luck. But days like Friday, when all the signals line up, and simple sentiment being bearish, sweepers getting active. Yeah. And like you said, that Friday, you really could have got long of anything and made money, right? So that's what I want. That's where I want to get the most aggressive, are times like that. Now, what the flow and what sentiment allows me to do is catch that early rather than later. I think that's the advantage. And that's what gives me the confidence to do that, is that I catch it early. And then when everybody finally starts to realize like this is a big squeeze, I can raise my stops and do all that shit. But yeah, that's, and the same, like I said, the same thing for swing trading, the same thing for swing trading. You want to get a little more aggressive on the early stages of the push. And then as things climb higher, less and less selective in a sense. Or it could be the overall environment. This is a time you want to become more selective, or you want lighter exposure because, the market's gone up in a straight line. You don't want to get aggressive up here. You can't do that. So, there's a strategy and a game plan for everybody out there. It's just you got to put some thought behind it and figure out what the hell you want to do. You can't come into this game, Ani, as you know, and say, I'm just going to go with it and see what goes on. Oh, I'm going to day trade that. Oh, I'm going to swing trade that. Today, I'm going to day trade. Tomorrow, I'm going to swing trade. You can't do that. You can't do that. Like Dean had a great point. He was talking to me earlier on you could probably understand this. What he's had some issue with, and a lot of traders have, the swing trade, day trade getting mixed up. So in other words, he day trades, but then if he doesn't get that move, if he likes the name, he decides to swing trade it. But in reality, the only reason he's deciding to swing trade it is because he didn't get the pop to make money off it. So you see the issue there? The problem is the flow's not the problem. Dean's entry is not the problem. The simple problem is he doesn't want to accept a loser. It's that simple. He does not feel he deserves to lose or not make money on that particular trade. So now he's going to swing it to make sure he makes money on that. Where in reality, the opposite is what you need to really get yourself used to, okay? The day trades off the flow that react the way they're supposed to, you lock in a profit, those are going to be your winners. The ones that don't react and you don't get the pop and you have to take a break even on, those are going to be your break evens. You're a day trader. What they do 3 days from now has nothing to do with you. Has nothing to do with you. Just like if you're a swing trader, right? If you go out and let's say you're a position trader and you're buying win May calls, what the stock does today means nothing. Means nothing. If you're going out to May to try to catch the bigger move, what the hell do you care if the stock's up or down today a buck? It makes you feel better for some reason, right? If it's up, but it really doesn't matter. The stock could be down 5 next week or up 5 next week. Yeah, it is. Discipline is hard, but if you have something structured a certain way, right? If your outlook on your strategy is a certain way, it's something you can get a handle on. You can't keep telling yourself it's too hard. It's not that hard. It's not. Trust me. I know you hear the guys out there talking about how it's hard to rein. It's really hard when you have no structure there. It's extremely difficult. But when you come in and you're saying to yourself, I'm willing to take this serious enough where I want to try to make money consistently off this game, then I have to do certain things to allow the possibility of that happening. If you don't, you can't. You know what I mean? If you are a day trader, I mean, it's pretty simple. You have to pull the plug when you think you're wrong. You have to lock in profits. And you have to be naked by the close every single day. No excuses. You know what I mean? In your day trading account, if that's your day trading account, that's what has to be done there. Okay? And like I told Dean, if you want to swing some stuff on the side, kind of like what I'm doing, have a separate account and selectively swing trade some names you want to do there. And you know what's going to happen? One of two things are going to happen. You're going to realize if it's worth it or not for you to do one or the other. You're going to see day trading, you're making a decent amount of money and you're finding consistency and it keeps you disciplined. And swing trading is a waste of time and you're ready to throw the account out the window. Or maybe it's worth you doing both. But you're going to get an answer to it. You know what I mean? You're not going to get any answers when you're just flip-flopping strategies on the fly because you're not making money that day. It's just, common sense there. What are you going to learn from that? Maria saying she has the opposite problem. I try to swing and end up scalping or holding up. That honestly, that's probably my issue. And that's where Maria, up until I think it was last year, there were probably a good couple of years where I didn't swing anything because I had the same issue. I said to myself, I'm so quick to sell these things anyway. I might as well just day trade them. There's so much less risk. You know what I mean? There was so much less risk if I just day traded everything because I was so quick to sell all the other crap. And that's when I got to the point where I said, that's it. I'm just going to focus on day trading. And then probably about a year ago, there was, after the Trump election, we started to see some ridiculous action come into names. There wasn't action like that. Even though the markets were going higher, there wasn't action like that. Like there was a lot of swing-worthy stuff out there. And that's where, even now, I dabble on the swing trading end. I dabble. If I can make a little bit of money net out of that swing trading account, I'm happy. If I can touch a big winner or two out of there and they make up for all the other losers I have in there, I'm totally content with that. Ani says, my account P&L, Ani really doesn't do anything for me really at this point, but that's me. That's me. Every trade is different. You know what I mean? Especially like if you're early on trying to build up a smaller account, you can get glued on the P&L. I think you can't put too much weight into any one thing. It's almost like you take one day at a time, one trade at a time. This is what you're long, whether your stop loss is the option going to zero or you're in the equity and you're stopping yourself out. This is where I'm wrong. I'm looking to make this on the upside. That's it. You know what I mean? If it's a loser, you're on to the next trade or focus on the next. The P&L, it's almost like it's a mirage. It doesn't really mean anything. You may be green today. You could be red tomorrow. If you're in the game for the long run, what the hell's the point of focusing on the P&L day to day. Again, I use the baseball analogy because I'm a huge baseball fan, but it correlates really nicely too. It's like a baseball player focusing on his batting average in April or May. He could be batting 220, but in the month from now, he may be hitting 360 if he gets hot. Or he could be hitting 500, right? He could be hitting 550 in April, but knows damn well in 2 months that's not likely to stay that way. So you got to be realistic too. You got to be realistic. That's what another thing options over, again, Twitter, social media, these 5,000% gains, they're just, they're mirages. They're real because they can happen. But if you're shooting for those 5,000% gains, chances are you're going to incur a decent amount of losing trades. Net, you're probably going to end up in the same spot. You know what I mean? So you're 5,000% winner minus all those losses, you're up so-and-so. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, no matter how you slice it. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to be a trend trader or investor, you got to be realistic, okay? You're not going to see 100% return trend trading. It's not realistic. Okay, if you could do that consistently, you'd be on the cover of Forbes and on Bloomberg and CNBC every day, and you'd be managing $20 billion. You're looking to beat the market. Net, you're looking to beat what the market would give you. That's why it's less stressful, trend trading. You're not trying to generate an income out of it. So it's just, these are things eventually you learn along the way, but it's also just, sometimes you just got to be a realist. You just got to be a realist. Like in anything else. Again, like in baseball, a hitter can't come into the season thinking he's going to bat 600 on the season. If he's good and he has confidence in his tools and his skills, he knows if he hits 300 plus, he did his job. It's just like that. Batting 500 is just not realistic. It's not going to happen. He may do it in April, but at the end of the year, it's not going to happen. So, I mean, it comes down to that. But listen, I get the discipline too. I get it. It's tough. But like I said, if you're determined enough and you're not just playing around in this game on the side, it's something you want to be serious about. You understand there are things you have to do to find success, and you got to work each and every day on those things and do them. Otherwise, again, logic says you're not going to find success. If you do, you're going to get lucky, and eventually it's going to bite you in the ass. So that's what I'm saying. If you're in it for life, Ani, and you made that determination, you take the weekend, you think about what are the things you need to do. You probably know them already. What are the things you need to do to find success with your style? You probably know exactly what you need to do. It's just a matter of applying them. And every day, your job is to just apply those things, not to stare at your P&L, not to make a score off Micron. That's not your goal. Each and every day, like chopping wood until the tree goes down, you have to work on what you need to do and make sure you're applying those things until they become a habit where you don't have to focus on them anymore. And that's where you get to the position where you find consistency, and then you worry about sizing up. You understand? Then you worry about the money. Then you could focus on the money a little bit more. What type of money you need to make now to stick around. But initially when you're trying to figure out the strategy and all that stuff, that's not the stuff to focus on. The stuff to focus on are, again, the elements you need to put in place every day in order for you to find success. And like I said, sometimes they're simple. If you're day trading, let's say the equity, like I do, it's pretty simple. You make sure your downside is always covered. You're looking to take profits. Don't look for a home run every single thing you touch. The home run should come by accident. And at the end of the day, you're not holding anything. Up, down, sideways, crooked, you're not holding anything in that day trade account. Right? And then it's a simple equation. More winners, more wins than losses. If that column is greater than the loss column, and you can do that consistently, you're on the right path there. You're ahead of the 90% of the traders who are going to end up out of the game. So again, that's for day trading. Depending on what other style, whether you're trading futures or you're swing trading or position trading, other things apply, but you probably know the majority of them. That's my point. You probably know of that already. What are the things you need to do? If not, then that should be your goal. You know what I mean? Your goal should be right now to sit down this weekend, jot down, and discover what things need to be done each and every time you pull the trigger out there on a new trade for you to find success net. All right, boys and girls, always a pleasure. Have a good weekend. Spring training baseball's back for all you baseball fans. So it's always a good weekend when we have some baseball out there. It should be a fun week next week. Again, this market, with the volatility and all, if you're an active trader, there's always some juice and excitement out there. So we'll see what happens. Friday was a good sign. We'll see if we get any follow through Monday. We don't want sentiment to get too hot on the bull side too quickly. And, we'll take it day by day and see what we got. If you have any questions on any of this stuff we spoke about, like I said, if you weren't around, go to wallstreetjesus.com, the strategy tab, and all these little quick blogs here, easy reads, not complicated at all, will help you better understand what the hell we look at in the steam room here. Okay. And if you're interested, we have throughout this Saturday Sweep Series, which has been going on forever now, but we got a 3-day trial, no credit card required. Okay, so you can just sign up for the 3-day trial, no automatic payment, none of that stuff. You're not obligated. And you get an idea of what the hell goes on in here. Okay. After that, it's 50% off the first month of this. That's the premium package with private Twitter included. Okay, that's included in the premium package. And private Twitter is all the alerts in real time, all the sweeper activity, commentary, open interest, sentiment updates, all that stuff, recaps. The big thing missing is the audio, video, live traders, Lucci, and all that stuff. Okay. And we also offer private Twitter for those of you who may be just looking for the alerts, maybe just starting, getting a feel. $59.99 a month. You get just private Twitter. Go to the products, go to private Twitter feed, and you'll get access to just that. But again, I stress, I get a lot of questions on it. Private Twitter is included in the premium package. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys showing up every Saturday with me. I enjoy talking game with you guys. All right. Enjoy the weekend. Good luck next week. Let's make some money.